Imagine strutting down a runway in a handbag made of Tyrannosaurus rex. Not a print, not a tribute, but actual T-Rex leather. Sounds like a Jurassic fantasy, right? Well, a trio of companies recently announced that this isn't a movie plot. It's their next product line. Lab-grown, cruelty-free and eco-friendly, they claim. But leading scientists say, not so fast. Because to turn a T-Rex into a tote bag, you'd need something we've never found. Actual dinosaur DNA. This is the story of one of the strangest fashion claims in recent memory, and the scientific reality that unravels it. A story that blurs the line between innovation and imagination, between fossil facts and futuristic fantasy. In May 2025, creative agency VML released a striking statement. They'd partnered with lab-grown leather Luterd and the organoid company to create the world's first dinosaur-derived luxury leather, inspired by the infamous apex predator, Tyrannosaurus rex. Their plan? To grow leather in a lab using cells engineered with synthetic DNA based loosely on T-Rex collagen, a structural protein found in tissues and bones. They hailed it as a scientific and ethical leap, a guilt-free luxury material. No animals harmed, no deforestation, no toxic tanning chemicals. Just high-end fashion with a prehistoric twist. But what they didn't expect was the pushback from actual scientists. To understand what makes this so controversial, let's look at what leather really is. Leather is the treated skin of animals, primarily cows, pigs, or exotic reptiles. Its texture, durability, and strength come from collagen, a protein that forms the scaffolding of skin and connective tissue. In the past decade, scientists have made real strides in lab-grown leather. Using bioengineered fibroblasts, the cells that produce collagen, researchers can grow sheets of real, living tissue in sterile lab environments. It's already being used by several companies to create sustainable alternatives to animal leather, with major backing from investors, designers, and environmentalists. This isn't science fiction. It's happening. But here's the challenge. To grow T-Rex leather, you need T-Rex tissue, or at least its genetic instructions. And that's where the fantasy collapses under scientific scrutiny. When Live Science reached out to the paleontology community, their responses were immediate and skeptical. Thomas Holtz Jr., vertebrate paleontologist at the University of Maryland, is a leading authority on tyrannosaurids. He reviewed the announcement and didn't hold back. "What this company is doing seems to be fantasy," Holtz said. "It's misleading. Why? Because T-Rex DNA, the critical ingredient, doesn't exist anymore, and it probably never will." Let's talk about DNA. DNA is delicate. As soon as an organism dies, its DNA begins to break apart. Heat, oxygen, water, microbes, and time, they all act like molecular sandpaper, grinding the code of life into dust. Under the most perfect conditions imaginable, say an ice-locked mammoth in Siberia, DNA might survive for up to 1 or 2 million years. But T-Rex died out 66 million years ago. That's 33 times older than the best preserved ancient DNA ever discovered. The current record holder is DNA from a 2-million-year-old ecosystem in Greenland, and even that required extraordinary recovery techniques and next-gen sequencing tools. So when Holtz says there are no T-Rex genes, he means it literally. We have no preserved tyrannosaurid DNA. Indeed, not Mesozoic dinosaur DNA sequences of any kind. You can't recreate what no longer exists. You can't reverse engineer a molecule if 99.9999% of it is missing and degraded beyond recognition. There's another wrinkle. What little collagen has been found from T-Rex doesn't come from skin. It comes from bone. Skin, the part required for real leather, almost never fossilizes. It decays within weeks, unless conditions are perfectly right. And those conditions are exceedingly rare. There are only a handful of tyrannosaurid skin impressions on record, and even those only show outer textures, scale patterns, creases, not the inner biology. As Holtz explained, there are a handful of skin impressions, But that doesn't let us know what the internal tissue was like. In other words, you might know what the wrapping paper looked like, but not what was inside. So what about the collagen they're basing this on? Yes, some T-Rex fossils contain remnants of collagen, mostly found inside fossilized femurs or other large bones. These were discovered through high-resolution mass spectrometry and complex chemical assays, not exactly DIY science. But collagen is not species-specific. It's a generic ancient protein. Dogs, whales, chickens, humans, we all produce it in strikingly similar forms. Thomas Carr, professor at Carthage College, elaborated on this. There really isn't much of a template to work from that could accurately reconstruct a collagen molecule that is specific to T-Rex. Collagens are pretty generic molecules across all animals, so I'd be very surprised if there was a species-specific sequence that differentiated T-Rex or any dinosaur from their closest living relatives. So even if they do engineer this leather, it's not T-Rex leather. It's modern lab-grown collagen wearing a dino costume. So what are these companies actually doing? Most likely they're taking fragments of fossil data, collagen sequences from bones, and designing synthetic versions with minor modifications. They're mixing modern bioengineering with branding, a marketing cocktail of nostalgia and novelty. It's not necessarily fraudulent, but it is deeply speculative, and it blurs the line between science and storytelling in ways that can mislead the public. VML declined to comment when contacted again by Live Science. To be clear, the science of lab-grown leather is real and promising. It offers a future where cows aren't slaughtered for handbags, where tanneries don't poison rivers, where consumers don't have to choose between ethics and elegance. Some companies are experimenting with mycelium-based leather made from fungi. Others are using bacterial cellulose. Some are even printing leather using 3D bioprinting. Carr supports the movement, at least in its ethical core. The notion of cruelty-free animal products is a legitimate ethical avenue to explore. But his message was clear. You don't need to invoke T-Rex to make that work. At its heart, this story is about how science is used, or misused, in popular culture. It's easy to dazzle with dinosaur buzzwords and sci-fi biology. But it's just as easy to mislead audiences who don't know where the science ends and the sales pitch begins. Holtz's warning is timeless. Fantasy has its place, but it shouldn't be disguised as science. As consumers, we need to ask better questions. And as communicators, we need to tell stories that are grounded in fact, even when the truth isn't as flashy. Tyrannosaurus rex doesn't need to be turned into a purse to remain relevant. It was one of Earth's most formidable predators. It stood over 12 feet tall, weighed 9 tons, and roamed the Cretaceous forests with bone-crushing bite force. Its bones have helped unlock the history of mass extinction. Its anatomy has reshaped how we understand evolution. Its legacy isn't skin-deep, it's scientific. That's what makes it legendary. So the next time you see T-Rex in the headlines, whether it's in a fossil dig or a fashion ad, ask yourself, is this real science or prehistoric spin? And if you love stories that cut through the hype and bring you the real science behind the headlines, from fossil proteins to futuristic materials, make sure to subscribe, because there's a whole world of wonder out there, and it's not extinct. Stay curious, stay critical, and keep your finger on the pulse of science.